About 5 seconds later, I felt myself floating out of my body. And then I get sucked in through this tunnel that opens up out of nowhere. Now it's my mom in front of me, my brothers, my oldest sister, Patricia's to the furthest of the right. And I turn, and in between me and my oldest sister, it's the girl from heaven. I says, Mom, that's her. That's the girl from heaven. And she's not seeing anybody. And I'm telling my brothers, and they're looking around saying, Stop joking around. And then my oldest sister goes, I see her. And not only does she see her, she's talking to her.
I want to welcome everybody back to another episode of Soul Inspired. Today, I'm really excited. I have a gentleman by the name of Philip Siracusa, who's had an NDE, but also has had some encounters with spirit. So we're going to chat a little bit about that. I want to take a moment to thank all the followers who've been following along the journey of the Soul Inspired. Please make sure you're commenting and starting a discussion. That's why we do these things. That's why we're putting these episodes out. So feel free to speak your mind. Thanks so much, Philip, for coming on tonight. I'm really excited to have you on.
Sure. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
When I got your message that you had kind of been in the whole circle of the near death experience, I was excited to chat with you because I wanted to know about your experience. So we'll get talking about that and how you kind of know some other people who've had NDEs. But the first question I start with, and this is with all my guests, is if you could paint a picture a little bit. If you think about the NDE, now I don't know what's come first with you because I know you had other spiritual encounters and things like that in your life. So I don't know which came first, but if you can think of which came first, I was wondering if you could paint a picture of what your life was like before that. Who was Philip Siracusa before that?
Before the near death experience, a typical teenager lived in Staten Island, New York, a lot of friends, was into health and fitness at an early age. And I was the leader in the pack, just and back then, we're going back to the early 80s, just living life, Staten Island was the place to be back then. So, there's nothing different about me at that point that was different than any other kid growing up.
Okay, so did you have a typical kind of household, that most of the kids were experiencing? Nothing, I ask this because some people have experiences that are it could be influenced from, what happened earlier on in life. So I'm wondering what your life was like at home. Was it
I
pretty
grew up in a
typical?
household of eight, brothers, sisters, and like I said, I was into the fitness world. I wasn't into anything spiritual. Went to Catholic school, and there was nothing that was different in a way where I had any kind of encounter that would enlighten me about heaven. And even though I was in Catholic school at that time, I did question my belief in the Catholic school and what we were taught, to
Okay.
be quite honest.
Yeah. So would it be safe to say you were questioning God itself or things like that in that nature? Or were you
The way
questioning
it
that?
was taught,
The way it was taught.
the way it was taught, um, you know, every religion and every school district has their own format of teaching kids what religion is, whether it's Christianity or Catholic or whatever it is. It's over 200 religions. And I just, I did believe in God. I come from a strong rooted family, but not the way it was presented to me that we were taught. That something always felt different about it, that I wasn't centered to believe what I was being, what I was learning in school, actually.
Okay, so you're being taught things, but it's not feeling right for you. So
Yes.
something just didn't
But I
feel right.
did believe in the higher vibration of God. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so you had some sort of belief system, but you didn't really know what that belief system was, essentially.
Right.
You just, right. Okay, I'm feeling that. Okay. So let's lead up to when the near death experience happened. When was this? You said early 80s, or was this later on in life?
No, this was 1981. I was 14 years old.
Okay.
And my
Yeah,
mom
so
had taken me to the dentist, and that's where it all started.
Oh, okay. So this happened when you went to the dentist.
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, if you'd be happy to share what happened.
Well, first and foremost, I don't like the dentist. I don't know who does. And it was the assistant, the dentist, and it was walking distance from my house. And my mom was in the room. And I think it was a routine visit. And I remember the dentist was poking at my teeth and he hit a nerve or something. I pulled his arm away, but really fast. And he says to the assistant, give him some nitrous oxide, which we used to call laughing gas. They put the mask on, you breathe in, they take it off just to like numb the pain.
Right.
And then he was poking away again, whatever he was doing, and I felt pain again, really bad. And once again, I pulled his arm away, and then he says to the assistant, give him some more, turn it up a little bit higher. And then they put the mask on me. I was to breathe in, and all that stuff. And then they pulled the mask off, and that was it. About 5 seconds later, I felt myself floating out of my body at that point. And I'm on the ceiling looking down at my body, at my mom, at the dentist. I'm saying, hello, hello, can you see me? Hello. I see what's going on. He's working on my teeth, but somehow I'm up here and I'm thinking it's a dream. I'm in this dream state. And it's really cool actually to be in this dream state, but it's so real. Then I'm going through the ceiling up into the sky. And then I get sucked in through this tunnel that opens up out of nowhere, this huge tunnel, and I'm being sucked in like a vacuum cleaner hose really fast. But now it's not my physical, it's the spiritual body. And what I do remember is feeling this vibrational pull through this tunnel. This tunnel is very long, very windy, um, and there was no pain. I did feel the speed I was going. And then I slowly, it was dark, it was very dark, and I started to hear these melodies, but I couldn't see anything but darkness. And then at one point, I seen a pinhole of light, and I was being pulled to it. And then I stopped, and opens up this magnificent sky full of love and energy. Um, it was like nothing that I could even fathom to give simple words on. I call it the sky of love. It was beyond perfection because you can see through the sky, but yet feel the vibration of pureness. And then I'm being pulled to the right side. So what's happening is it's like a magnetic pull that's pulling me,
Mm.
and I'm drifting right through these big golden gates, tremendous gates, and they were golden, into a garden. And I stop, or something stops me, and I'm observing everything in the garden. The garden is enormous. It's euphoric. And every single thing in that garden was alive in a sense where you can feel the vibration of creation through it. Every flower, every leaf, every rose, everything. It was beyond words. And you feel it now. Again, this is a spirit body. So when people ask me, well, how did you see in heaven? You see spirit through the spirit eye. You have a 360 view of everything. You're no longer in a shell, which is the physical body.
Right.
You're out of the shell. It's like when you blow up a balloon and you let the air out, and the soul is the air, and you're out of that sack, and now you're free. And it's you take in nothing but pureness and this harmony. And then I'm being pulled through a field right after that. Again, it's taking me as if I'm on a conveyor belt, for example, but I'm like being
Wow.
pulled magnetically through a field, and the field is something that sticks with me forever. The field, every blade of grass is just perfection. It goes on for infinity. It doesn't end. The field, it does not end. The field, a lot of people talk about this field when they have this near-death experience because it's the field of life. It's the field where you're in this scenery that is so perfect, and you are embraced in it. And I says to myself consciously, I'm home. I'm back home. That person that was in that dentist chair no longer existed. I'm home. And it felt good. And then I remember this angelic being coming in the field closer to me from the farther right side, far away. And she somehow came very, very close. And I look at her and I knew her, but I didn't know from where. And she says, follow me. And she's pulling me, not by touch, but by vibration. And she takes me to a park. And then she goes away, and I don't want her to go because I feel comfort with her as well. And on the park, there's a bench, and on the bench, there's two elderly people. And I look at them, and they stand up and turn around, and it's my grandparents. Now, it's my grandfather, who I never met because he was deceased before I was born. And he had a gray suit on with a top hat. He looked around his 60s, but a vibrant 60s, not a 60s here in the physical realm. And my grandmother, who was buried in a blue dress, there she was, right in front of me, because she died earlier that year, 1981. And I says, Grandpa, well, I could tell you that my words were like tears because I finally get to meet him, you know?
Yeah.
And he goes, his exact words were, hello, Sonny. And I felt this joy in me. And I says, Grandma. And my grandfather looks at my grandmother, and she looks at him, and then he says, what's Philip doing here? And I says, Grandma, again. And she points her fingers and says, go back. You're not supposed to be here.
Mm.
Now, when you're on that side, I could tell you straight out, I don't care who you are, you don't want to leave. You don't want to leave.
Right, right.
And again, it's hard to describe, but when everything is perfect and there's no pain and no sickness and it's you don't want to leave. That's your home. That's your home. That's where you come from. Unfortunately, I'm being pulled backwards, and I don't want to go, but I'm being pulled. When she says you're going back, you're going back, and then I remember going through the field backwards, and I'm going through the garden backwards, through the gates, and then I'm sucked right through this tunnel again. And I'm going really, really fast through the tunnel. And now consciously, I'm starting to become aware of what's happening through a form of my surroundings. And then I'm looking at the ceiling of a hospital. I go through the ceiling and I look at my body, and there's oxygen masks on me and IVs and all this other stuff on me. And it's my mom's in that room, and I'm like, now I know where I was, but I'm not going back in the body. And
That's
when
funny.
they say you're going back, you're going back.
Mm.
And I was pulled right in like you put a glove on your hand that quick. And I'm gasping for air, and I'm gasping for air. And what happened was I had an allergic reaction to the nitrous oxide. When I was born, I was probably, God, one of the first people, all joking aside, that in New York City, we had to go, I was allergic to everything. And back then, they used to give you a grid test on the arm, on your forearm. And they would make these squares and put hundreds of medications in the squares and poke holes in your skin to see what you're allergic to. And I was allergic to basically everything. And that nitrous oxide shut me down, stopped me from breathing.
Wow.
And a couple days later, when I was home, I was like, Mom, I've seen Grandma and then Grandpa. I was in heaven. Now, this is 1981, and it was dismissed as a hallucination or a dream.
Yeah.
And at that age, you're not getting it. You kind of know where you were, but you're not really getting it. And I remember talking to friends in the neighborhood and, you know, yeah, you were just dreaming. And I kind of felt that myself then. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe this wasn't real. So I lived life, from that point on. I recovered, and a year later, in the summer, it was 1982. I'm in the backyard of my parents' home, just playing around, and my mom says, "Okay, we're all gonna go for a walk now." And it was my brothers and my sisters. She goes, "Philip, meet us in the front yard." And I looked up at the sky. I says, "God, if I was really at your home, give me a sign because no one believes me. In fact, I don't even know what I believe." So I walked through the gates in the front yard, and my father was working in the city. And we start walking down the street, and we're about half a block up. And to the right side of me, I felt something different, like this energy. Something was off. And I turned to the right. Now it's my mom in front of me, my brothers. My oldest sister, Patricia's to the furthest of the right. And I turn, and in between me and my oldest sister, it's the girl from heaven. Now I'm looking at her and I'm saying, "You can see me?" And she goes, "Of course I could see you, silly." She brought life into me in the physical realm. She had blue jeans on. She had a shirt, and the shirt had flowers on it, covered in flowers. And these were the same flowers I seen in that garden in heaven. I says, "Mom, that's her. That's the girl from heaven. And she's not seeing anybody." And I'm telling my brothers, and they're looking around saying, "Stop joking around." And then my oldest sister goes, "I see her." And not only does she see her, she's talking to her.
Oh, wow.
This girl was skipping along, laughing. And I have to tell you that I felt alive. I felt like a prayer was answered. When I asked God, "Give me a sign because no one believes me." Well, there it is, Philip. Here's your sign. And she's there, and she is filled with beyond life, skipping, laughing, joking, talking to my sister. And then we're walking. Now, my mom thinks we're all nuts. And then about a block away, because she was with us for a bit of time, and then a block away, she just fades out and she's gone. And then we're just looking everywhere for her, and we can't find her. Well, you see, now, before I was born, my mom had a kid, a girl that was 2 weeks old in the house. Her name was Linda, and she died. And it is with our strong belief, without a doubt, that's our sister. And
Wow.
God says, "Here, not only is your gift the girl from heaven, this is your sister, Philip." I have chills right now. And me and my older sister, we talk about this once a week, the girl from heaven, because my older sister's had visitations of her too. When you're innocent and you have enough intent and thought within yourself for a response from the other side saying, "Please give me a sign. Show me that it's not me, that I know what I'm talking about."
Mhm.
Sometimes that sign will come. And in this case, my oldest sister was able to validate and see her as well and bring joy to us at such a young age. Miracles do happen, and not every prayer is answered, but miracles happen. And this was one of them, that there is a higher creator. There is this place, I call it home. And sometimes those little doubts are answered in the most mysterious ways. And that's my near death experience.
Wow. First of all, thanks for sharing the experience. I appreciate it. I appreciate you talking about it. Um, you explain it in a really interesting way. You're probably the first, I think this will be episode 30 something when it comes out. Um, but you explain it very linear in detail, which is something that we're used to as humans, right? Like time, right? 10, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. You explain it very much in detail. I've loved every guest I've had, but I do find some people, the experiences are all over. It's so jumbled. They can't seem to put it in a nice packaged way. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but you're able to describe it in a way that makes someone who hasn't had an experience understand it a little bit easier. As soon as you said conveyor belt, I heard it in my head that it felt like I said conveyor belt in my head, and you said it felt like a conveyor belt, and I was like, wow, that was odd because I don't know what that was. Some kind of telepathy going on there. I have some questions for you if you don't mind, uh,
Yes.
based off the experience.
And just really quick, in the cemetery in Staten Island, the first person that was buried was my sister. And the second person that was put on top of her in 1981 is my grandmother,
Oh,
together,
and you saw both of them there.
both of them in heaven.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I'm very, very, very thankful for that.
Yeah, and the other thing that's nice is that you had this experience with your older sister, that you were able to share an experience. They call that, sometimes they're called shared death. It's not a shared death experience, but it's a shared spiritual experience. You're both experiencing something at the same time that you can verify. That's huge because a lot of people, as much as life gets a hold of you and you have someone you can go to and say that happened, right? That happened, right? Yeah, it did. I saw the same thing. Okay, just to refresh yourself. So I think that's a blessing too. I'm gonna kind of go a little bit through because there's a couple things that started coming up as you were saying things. This is a question I've never asked anybody. You mentioned the garden, the blades of grass. There was a euphoric life like entity, a piece of it. They were very much alive, you said. Felt like they were alive. Did it feel like it looked different from a blade of grass here?
There's no comparison. And I laugh when people go, well, will there ever be heaven on earth? No, there won't. There'll never be heaven on this earth because it's no. Just take one blade of grass and you look at it and you'll look at it for a couple minutes. Okay, I'm bored now because you're seeing it
Right.
with your perception of it's just a blade of grass. And then maybe you could do some research on grass and how, but you're not really getting it. Then when you're on that side, it's okay. There's no more of these five senses. I could touch, I could hear, I could smell, and all that. You're unlimited. When you leave that balloon, like I said, beginning of this, your soul leaves the balloon, your unlimited senses. Now you can feel the vibration of creation of everything that exists. And when you could do that, you don't get bored of looking at a blade of grass. You understand the blade of grass because the simple measures are the most meaningful measures that the Creator has given us that we in the physical realm take for granted. We cut the grass, we look at it, it's nice, but we don't really get it. We
Right.
don't get it. It's till you cross over, you understand it. It's like this is the beauty of everything.
I love that. So if I take that even further, I know that it doesn't have a comparison. But I haven't asked this question either. If you look at, you know, outside of us building concrete and homes and the things that we do, if you look at nature in its essence, waterfalls, grass, trees, do you feel that the earth, what we've created here, is a reflection, a very sad reflection by the sounds of it, of heaven? Because you referring to a blade of grass, which we also have here in a different way. So I sometimes
Correct.
wonder if it's like
Correct.
this is like a television show comparison. Like this is not as this.
This is the dream state. That's the reality of realism on the other side. That's life. This is the dream that we're in now. This is the part of the short play that we've created physically to say I want to experience certain things based on like a soul contract that you kind of write out things you want to experience. So if you would ask me on a measurable scale of 1 to 100, what's Earth the way it is now with our waterfalls? And we do have beautiful things here in nature, of course we do. Compared, it's 1 out of 1 million.
Okay.
Heaven is the million, and this is the little 1%. This is the little scratch on the surface of what the other side is really like.
Of what we are.
Without the pain, without the sickness, without the death, without all of that stuff.
It must have been remarkable for you to come back as a little guy and think to yourself, that was a dream. Like you're probably waiting for another one of those and you never got one and thought, well, that wasn't a dream. Did that happen? Because you said people were trying to convince you of it being a hallucination or a
Of
dream.
course.
Was there a point where you thought that couldn't have been a dream? Because I go to bed every night and I'm not having, maybe you did. I don't know about all your spiritual experiences.
I want to tell you this. I want to tell you this. You raised a good question, and here's the answer. I remember my father bought property upstate New York way back in the day, and we were all piled into his, the car and all that. And back upstate New York, way back in the day, there's a lot of fields and all that. And I remember at one point he's driving, and I'm gazing into the field, and all of a sudden I can feel it again. And all the memories, I'm young now. Now I'm young. It's coming back to me. Wait a second. It's coming back. Once you have, remember I said that pinhole of light that I seen that I was pulled through, but it looks so far away. It's the pinhole of light that is the creation of everything that opens up into a euphoric sky that our simpleton words can't even measure the beauty of it. And that's what it is. And then when we self-doubt and think, well, this was a dream or an hallucination, this wasn't real, but there's that one pinhole of light within inside of all of us that says, no, this was real. This was real. And there's a knowing. We all have a knowing of something that we are certain of. And this is part of the knowing that we're certain of because we've experienced it. Having a near-death experience is an eye-opener. And I'm glad it happened to me because it's enlightened me through my darkest days on the physical realm that this is a short play. Go through it, because when you do get back home, it's euphoric and empathic.
So you see it now as it was a blessing to get at a young age so that it would help you along the way. Maybe it was meant to happen. I don't know. I mean, I hear about everyone having kind of a blueprint, kind of having like an idea of what their life is going to be. I talk to different people who've had these different experiences. And I wonder if in that blueprint that you were meant to have that NDE because of some challenges you were going to face and you just needed to have that remembrance of what's greater. I'm just talking. I don't know. I wonder sometimes because some people I talk to who've had NDEs, some of them have had some horrific things in their life happen and you think, wow, they got through it. But because of that belief, because of that understanding, it helped them through it. I'm not saying you did, but I've noticed that with some of the people I've chatted with. The other thing is about saying, is it real? Because it's a question I started asking when I first started doing these episodes is some of the reactions I get when I say, is it as real as here, as you and I talking? Some people laugh because they felt it was more real. So to put it in a perspective of it being real, it doesn't make sense to them because they're like, no, actually this doesn't even feel as real. So you're asking if it's as real as this, well, what if it's more real? Because how do you say, yes, it's as real, right?
That's true. That side is the real nature of us and our pureness of our souls. And this side is the TV screen that we're just living it through a soul contract. And I'm going to blow your mind. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. We're all energy, right? Energy is not created nor destroyed. Hear me out and look at me. Look straight now.
Mhm.
We've created everything around us. We are the creators. Because if energy is not solid, atoms, particles, and molecules, then nothing is solid. Not the door, not the wall, not your body, not anything. But your form of consciousness have created it to be real and what you believe real and what you believe is real and your perception of the reality that you're living, because we are collective consciousness into a vessel. Picture your body as a leased vehicle and eventually it goes back. You're going to bring the lease back and you're going to leave, right? Because it wears down, it gets tired. But you've created that. So if you created it, when you leave the leased vehicle that you're in and you go back home, you're back to the realism of you, because that is the pureness of you and each and every soul that exists on the planet. Everything is energy and nothing, my friend, is solid. Therefore, I'm speaking to you and you're speaking to me, and we're both forms of collective consciousness. Did I create you, or are you creating me right now? That's the mind blower.
Yeah. I was just, as soon as you said that, I thought, yeah, I don't know. Like, right.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And I learned all of this by crossing over. So much abundance of knowledge, of pureness. Everyone's born physically pure, innocent. And then through societies and culturism and we have wars and famine and sickness and disease in the physical realm. And then we all ask, well, where is our creator and why is all these things happening? Or is it because the soul has written a soul contract that wants to experience no matter what it is? Because again, it's not the five senses, it's beyond that. This is a short window. Dying, when you cross over, well, that's actually life itself. So picture this. People ask me, well, how long were you in heaven, Philip? There's no time there. Time does not exist. Time is linear. We made up time. Therefore, if we made up time, I could have been there for months while it was minutes. But we can't fathom it because so much knowledge I have taken back through such a short explanation of a near-death experience, but yet the abundance of energy that I went through on that side lasts forever. I'm 56 years old. I was 14 back then. So the reflection of us and how we go through the windows of earth and how we live life are the shadows and silhouettes, sort of like a form of reincarnation that we've chosen the path again through different journey. I want to do this time around, or I want to do that this time around, or I want to experience these certain things time around, because you create it before you get here. We create our parents, who's the family for us, our siblings, what we want to do, how we want to exit, how long do we want to live? Do I want to die at birth just to see what it's like, or do I want to go through 1 year old or to 100 years old?
Right.
People always ask me, well, why does someone have to die so horrific in a car accident or of cancer at a young age? Is it not because the person themselves is the creator? And if we're not solid, we're creating the illusion of everything around us through experiences of vibration ourselves? And that when we leave the physical realm, when we cross over, it's an abundance of, I understand it all. It's like a puzzle being put together. Some of us, our puzzles are put together at 1 year old and you can cross over, go back home. Some is 90 years old where your puzzle's complete and you look back at the reflection of your life and say, I get it now. This is why I went this way. This is why my friend went this way. This is why my parents went this way. I get it. But we don't get it here in the physical nature of us because we're not meant to understand it. Some of us have these out-of-body experiences, these near-death experiences, to talk to our fellow man, to let them know, hey, why can't the blind see? Why do the sick, some of them, die so early? And why is innocence in a rage? And why does war keep going on, and famine, and people around the world? Why do we go through this? Or is it because you're the creator? You've created the short window of seeing things that the soul wanted to experience before it goes back home. But remember, in pureness, we are all innocent. And when you're crossed over and you go back home, the abundance of love and energy that you feel is no comparison to your best day on this physical planet, where you got a raise, or you met the perfect person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, or the house or the car, and you feel excited. You could take that and magnify that by 100 million, and you still won't get the feeling of pureness of the other side.
Wow.
And some of us teach others. You know, my near-death experience, I have talked many people out of not taking their own lives. A lot of military people come to me throughout the years because they see so much, and they have PSD, you know, and they talk to me, and I talk them out of it, saying, hey, this is a short window that you're going through. In the darkness and in your deepest moments of these feelings of hate, or you don't want to continue, think of a pinhole of light and open it up around you and feel a vibration around you. Just imagine it, because if you created everything around you anyway, put the light around you. And when you do that, say, I'm going to get through this, and I'm going to make it to the next minute, the next hour, and the next day, and nothing can stop me. Use your vibrational energy through your soul to get through the existence on the physical realm, because each and every one of us, whether you're the richest person or the poorest person, people ask me today, Phil, when you die, would you have rather died the wealthiest person on earth or the poorest? I would die the poorest person, with the most wisdom of knowing that I'm the richest man in soul, teaching others. Push through your journey, because it's not forever. And the pain you may feel, and the reflection of negative energy that you endure, that happens to you, and you say, why me, why me, why me? I can promise everyone it is a short window and a short distance, because time is an illusion created by man. It does not exist.
Mhm. There's a lot to unpack with that. There's a lot to unpack with that. I'm going to go into this other direction a little bit, where it's not really a different direction, but it has to do with what you're talking about. Um, it is a short window. Life is a trip. We go back home. And I don't know all the answers. I haven't even had an experience like that. I've had my own experience, but nothing like that. Nothing like a near-death experience. But I would say I do truly believe in the free will idea of the law of attraction and changing things through this life, right? I mean, we're creators, right? Like you said, we're creating all the time.
Yes.
Whether I'm creating you here, you're creating me here, whatever that means, whatever is going on. But if that is the deepest truth of who we are, then I do believe we can create as we move through this life, instead of going down a dark tunnel,
Yes.
go up into a higher vibration and create a magnificent life. Um, a lot of people probably hear that and say, I don't want to hear that. Life was terrible to me, and they go into that mode. But why not experience that? Why not buy into that? And what do you feel about that?
I agree with you. Manifest the most positive thoughts. Like I said, around, put that light around you, right? Because if you manifest a thought of a light around you, this vibrational light around you, that you're unstoppable, then you talk to these people, They did studies with people who are all walks of life. How did you get where you are and what you have? Manifestation. So basically, you have to believe with intent that you already have it, and you will get it. Now, again, that's not everything. That's not a person saying, "Well, can I manifest $100 million in front of me?" No, no, it doesn't work like that. The karmic view and the law of attraction does not work like that. But you pull yourself into manifestation of an upper vibration with a light around you, and keep out the negative things. So if you're living somewhere where there's a lot of tragedy going on, right? You have to isolate yourself sometimes and say, okay, I'm not part of this. I'm part of me. I'm experiencing things I don't want to see or experience, but it's a short window and I'm going to get through this. Don't give up. That's why we say, don't give up. Keep fighting. Use your energy and keep fighting for the better things that you want. But remember this now also, if you keep fighting and you don't give up and you put a positive energy around you, then at one point you're unstoppable. Um, and people would ask me, well, what happens if your demise comes? Where colon cancer, which is very common, and today takes you out. It's because you've created a form of an empathic way to experience certain things that do not exist. You've made it exist. Get a book, get a pen, write down a story of your life. Write down each and every day in a journal format. It exists only because you've put it down. If you put it down, it exists. So you're going through the walking measures of life that you want to experience. And I know that's out there, but when I talked about the beginning of the show about I went to Catholic school and I didn't buy into, at that age, I didn't buy into what they were saying. I get asked, Philip, did you meet God? We believed and were taught that God is the person. No, I'll tell you, I've died, and I will tell you, no, it's wrong. And religion, the way religion is formatted, I don't agree with it. I do not disrespect anyone's belief in religion. That means you have to go through these journeys of what you believe. That's fine. But what I experienced is when I went to that pinhole of light and opened up to a sky that was alive and euphoric. The sky is the energy is the love is the vibration of everything that exists, which we call God. Mm-hmm. It is the creation of everything. Therefore, God is everywhere that is alive.
Right.
That is God.
So it's everything.
Yes.
There's a couple of things you said. One of the things was writing down the journal of your life, creating your life. And then you said something like, it sounds absurd, but it's the truth. A lot of people follow, the people out there that help people manifest the success in their life and these things. And I see so many times, so many of them have said, write down your goals, write it down, write it down, write it down, write it down, and read it every day, write it down, read it every day. Now, only so many people will do that. Right? And so often when they do, they manifest it. They manifest it. Now, you talked about, can you put $100 million in front of you? You can't. Well, it's different, right? You can manifest. I think it's intention. This is what I'm starting to learn as I get older. This law of attraction stuff. You just say, oh, I want 10,000, I want $10 million or 100,000 dollars or whatever you're saying. I'm using money because this is what people generally go to first is the monetary stuff, right? But if you just keep saying that, okay, that's great. But what is the action taken to receive that? Right? Because I think we get confused with thinking we can just ask for it and it'll just be there. If you're fixated on that, I don't think that's the goal. This is just my thoughts. If you're fixated on that, that's not the goal. If monetary value comes with the things you're doing in your life, that's great. But I think most people, once they get to that point, they're not even thinking about it, right? They're busy pursuing their whatever it is they're going after. I'm just assuming this. Maybe some people just think money, 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 and it comes to them. But I just don't think that's the way it works. I think it has to do with following purpose, passion with love and intent. And then if that comes, that comes, but that's not the goal, right? One thing I'm seeing from most people I speak with is the goal is to help others, to lift
Yes.
each other up, right?
Yes.
So it's just a lot of confusion out there in regards to how you receive all these things. Yeah.
I agree with you. And the biggest misconception in the physical realm is that, well, the Joneses have a new car, so I need a new car. The Joneses have a nice house, so I need a better house. These are materialistic things that are temporary. They're nice. Yes. But guess what? You're born in this physical realm, naked and afraid, and you will cross over alone, alone, naked and afraid. You will not take the clothes in your back in your casket. You will not take your car. You will not take your house. You will not take anything. Anything will not exist. Any material thing will not exist. So, if it won't exist and it's a temporary band-aid, why not put the essence and the role of effect of helping mankind get through life in a positive way, in a positive vibration? And I teach people help one person at a time.
Mhm.
Maybe someone needs a phone call that you didn't want to call. Maybe an elderly relative needs a visit that they didn't think you'd ever visit them. But did you ever think that those little simple measures, like the blade of grass, can do so much for one person? And that one person can pass it on to the next? And then you have a rolling effect. And that's the pureness that I talked about when you're first born. The pureness, the essence of you. Push it on. And everything else is secondary. It's nice. Yes, we will want the finer things, but it's about what you really are, because you ain't going to take those things with you. And there's no U-Haul truck going with you. But what you do take with you when you cross over is this: all the love, all the feelings of happiness, of helping others. You'll take that in your vibrational, which we call the aura, the soul around you. You'll take that with you. And that, my friend, will last for eternity.
What do you think people could do if they find themselves in a place of greed? Because we're
Greed.
born, right? When I say greed, they're going after they're going after things for monetary value only. They want to achieve, they want to look successful, they want to have the most followers, they want to have, because they just want to but they're thinking to themselves, I don't want to be this way, but this is what this is what we're supposed to do. They've convinced themselves. It's because I think a lot of people are in that. You look at social media, I think everybody's in that place where they just think that's how you get there. And then you hear all these stories of people getting to the top of their game and they take their life, they fall down, like things happen. Not all the time, but it happens. And I think sometimes maybe what happens is they get there and they say, "Oh, I went after this, I got there, and now what?" Right? So I'm always thinking to myself, what can I say to someone? How can I help somebody understand or get past that feeling of the neediness of all those things? How can you get to a place of doing things for your fellow man, for the people in the world? Like what kind of advice would you give someone like that?
You know, um, back years ago, this billionaire was on his deathbed. Billionaire. And he says to him, if there's one thing that you can teach mankind, what would it be? He says, well, you can't buy time. I'm one of the richest men in the world, but you can't buy time. And if you can't buy time, then you better make every second and minute and hour valuable by helping others, because I can't take nothing with me. And then when we look at the materialistic world that's become greed, money, the devil's playground, in a sense where he has you. He has you embedded into the thought of you have to have more material things. You have to have the better things. He takes away the window of pureness and happiness within a person only to fulfill it with material things. You take, for example, a funeral today, and I hate to say it, but it's true. A funeral today is not like a funeral back in the 70s. A funeral today, people are on their cell phones, on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and there's someone in that casket that you know. Or they're outside having a cigarette, having laughs, and talking about where they're going to go out to eat. And they were still on Facebook or social media. Now, if you went back to the 60s, 50s, well, it wasn't like that because we mourned for the people that we lost. But today's world has changed. And I call it the devil's playground in a sense because that's what it is. He knows how to grab you and get you and pull you into that little weakness of you that, hey, you need the money. The money will make you happy. Forget about your family. Forget about all that stuff. Forget about true love. Here's money. Here's money.
Mhm.
But then when like that billionaire, when he's on his deathbed and he says, well, you can't buy time, no matter how much money you have, and if you can't buy it, then why not make it the most valuable with the people that you're with during the existence of this physical realm? Why do you lose it? Don't. Don't fall into that. And I'm sure that as your show goes on, you will be interviewing a lot of people. And there'll be some people who are very wealthy that crossed over, and they'll tell you the same thing I'm saying. Some even gave everything away to charity in the sense that it's not worth it because you lose family, you lose friends, people don't like you because they think that you try to be better than them. Why not live a more happy, modest life and help others? Because if you were the richest person and you lived alone and had, you know how depressing that is? Yeah, you have all your material things, but you know how depressing that is to be alone? Why not have other positive energies around you and everyone be happy and
Mhm.
everyone share the slice of bread? That's what goes on. And that's the effect that should be told and heard. And I get what you're saying.
Mhm.
And I hope that shows like yours and others can help people wake up into reality of those things aren't going to last forever, those material things.
Right.
And the people that you know and love, don't take them for granted because they can be gone tomorrow,
Mhm.
where the material things pulled you away from them, right? The
Right.
devil's playground.
Mhm. I completely understand and hear what you're saying. Hopefully people are listening. Something came to me too in my mind where I was talking about having goals, and the goals should really be surrounding what we're doing for others. What comes with that comes with that. If that means you live a little more of a modest life, that's fine. If you have nice things, that's fine. That's the way I see it. But hopefully you're giving back. Hopefully you're bringing people along. I don't mean giving it out to your family and all these things, but you're doing things that are good. Like I'm sure there are abundance of people out there that are very wealthy, but are living a life of gratitude and doing the good things in life too. Yes, there are certainly a lot of people who are very wealthy who are not living that life of gratitude. They're living a life of greed. I think there's two ways to go.
Yes.
But the reason I only agree with some of what you're saying there is because it's the viewpoint of someone who is in a, they think they need more, they want to be part of the Joneses, as you said, right? Don't look at it like you just want to be rich. Because what does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean? Once you get there, you might enjoy it for a couple days, and then you're going to say, well, what am I now? What? That's what I always say. Is that now what factor, right? We're always trying to get to that next thing, and
You
then
ready?
we want
And
to
let
get
me
to the
tell you,
next.
let me just give you a school of thought. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the school of thought. I did a study, okay, because I'm also a radio host. I did a study. And we studied the actors, the singers, the top performers of the world. Okay. And when we look back at the clock of demise, got a new car, got a new house, got friends' houses, got friends' cars. But now I'm bored. I'm a singer, I'm a millionaire. I'm a celebrity. Getting bored, so I'll buy some more stuff. And I'm bored with that too. So now I'm going to turn to certain things like medications, and those medications aren't enough. So I'm going to up the dose on certain medications to bring myself to a fulfillment of happiness medically. And some of them, unfortunately, a lot of them aren't around anymore. They've lived short lives, and I think we all know that we can go back on the train of celebrities that left us great music, but they're gone.
Hmm.
So therefore, it teaches us that, okay, money only goes so far, but don't let your journey here be all about that, because eventually you're going to get bored of it anyway. No matter what you have,
Yeah.
no matter what you have, just like they did, right? Celebrity dies of heart attack. Celebrity OD. Celebrity dies of heart attack. Celebrity. What do you think? You already bought everything. You already had everything, and you can't get the high on life through material things. So now you're taking the next stuff of medically inducing yourself into, you want to feel that happiness all the time, and your body's saying, "We're done now. We're done. You took it too far." Is it worth it? Or is it worth the simple measures of life of, yes, go through it the right way, cause and effect, and helping others? And if you have nice things, that's great. But don't let that be the ruler of you,
Mhm.
because that is the devil's playground. The ruler of you, materialistic things. Look at any format of documentary. It takes you, devil say, I'll give you everything, give you whatever you want. Oh, guess what? Now you belong to me, and I'll take you what I want. You, so live life in the pureness of you.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. And if those things do come, the finer things in life, that's good. But don't let that take away from the person that you love, or a family member that you care for, or that sick person who needs a visit in the hospital.
Yeah.
Don't let that do that,
Yeah.
because then you're manipulated by darkness. And don't fool yourself, because you are, by darkness. You just don't see it.
Yeah.
You're blindfolded.
Yeah, the way the story you said about the billionaire that was dying and said the time that you can't buy time. That really spoke to me, and that's what I mean. That's the idea, is that you I really truly, this is just my own personal opinion, is that I think if we get into a positive state, if great things come for you, if thing and whatever that means, I think that's great. I think that's great. Like I do have a positive outlook on everything. I've always been more of a positive person. So, and I've met some great people who have done well in life and they're doing good things. But I think what we're referring to was the people who aren't doing it the right way. They're going in greed. What was it you said? You said that they got to that kind of the mountaintop and they realized, okay, now what? Like it's like they're bored of it. Like what was the point of it? But if you have a passion or purpose or you're helping people, you're not even thinking about the value of what it means. Like if that's coming to you, that's great. Do good things with it and keep going up the mountain. And you won't get bored because you're doing things that are helping people around you in the world and why you're here. So I don't I haven't really gone down that rabbit hole before with anyone, so I appreciate the time talking about it. Um,
You can't buy happiness.
yeah, no, you definitely can't. And I think a lot of people tend to think you can. Somewhere along the lines, somewhere as we're growing up and we're in school or something, somewhere, whether it's influence of peers, you look to all these celebrities, you're a kid and you see your famous musician you love and you think, oh God, they must be happy. Look, and you look at the way things are now online and everyone's got perfect pictures. Everyone looks so happy. These celebrities, like people, I shouldn't talk about celebrities because there's probably a lot of good celebrities out there too. But I'm just saying we don't know. So be careful. I, you know what? It just hit me. It just came to me right now. Intention. It's all intention. Because if your intention is to look better, to create jealousy with other people, that's greed. It's not going to get you in a very good place. Why do we have movies like Scrooge? We have tried to teach ourselves along the way. not everybody's listening. But if your intention is good, and to help others and good things come your way, I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think there are leaders out there that are that way. And I'm grateful for those type of leaders. Um, but make sure you're going with the right intention. Quick side step for a second, quickly here. You had that experience. You had the near death experience. You've seen the spirit of whom you say you believe is the sister that wasn't in your life. Your older sister sees that with you, and you talk about it to this day. Did you two open up over the years to people about it, and was it shut down, or was this a common thing that came up in your household?
My mom never talked about it. My sister, she was broken. Um, and she wasn't really, we would go to the cemetery, but no one really talked about it. I guess it was a painful time before I was born to the thought of what, my parents had to go through. And, but the experience I had in my older sister seeing her as well, there's been points of my life too, where I go back to those fields in some format of, I remember there's a few times in my life where I felt like I'm done, I'm tired, because life can throw curveballs. And then in the form of an out of body and a dream state, she would come through. She came through like 3 times in my life, this girl, which was my sister. That took me to those fields, met me in the fields on the other side. And I would wake up the next day feeling vibrant. Let's take the day on. I got this. So the other side is always listening. Don't think for 1 second that when someone crosses over, it's over. And the little perception that you look at it through that periscope of, it's over now, I'll never see him again. No, that is so untrue. So untrue. And that's why I have a problem with different beliefs in religion, because certain religions say, well, you cannot communicate with those that have crossed over, yada, yada, yada. And again, I'm not disrespecting religion, but to me, it's all falsehood. Okay. Until you experience what you experienced that I've experienced, and the NDEers who've been to that garden and the colors on that side that we don't even have here, and that feeling, then it's hard to really stretch the imagination that far
Mhm.
of what it's really like. And no matter how much I talk about it or anybody talks about it, we can't bring you there. It's an experience that you have to go through, but you will eventually get there, right? When the
Right.
clock is done, then obviously, but it's some of us are messengers, right? We're teaching other people, hey, this is not about material things, this walk right here.
Mhm.
Don't fool yourself. Don't get into everything around you so much where, look, you put the news on, you could be the most negative person in the world because it's all negative, 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 right?
Mm. Yeah.
Think about the positive things. Put on a good song that makes you feel good, feel vibrant, feel the energy, and be you. Not everything that you're surrounding yourself with that is negative. Don't be part of that wave, right? Be part of the movement of purity, of hope, prosperity, and helping fellow your mankind. Be part of that. Don't be part of, oh, well, I'm going to follow along because that's the right thing to do.
Mhm.
Don't do that. Don't. And you'll be happier in life. You'll be more content.
Right.
You'll be content of the simplest things in life will make you feel fulfillment. If I gave you a blade of grass, which I'll bring up all the time, and that blade of grass that you looked at made you feel like the most wealthiest, purest person in existence, it was just a little blade of grass. Would you need anything else? No, because you have it all.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say I've talked to a few near death experiences recently, and I said, how do you, I was just getting through editing one that's gonna be posting soon. And I said, in it, I said, how did you come back and watch the news? Like, how, after you've gone over there, seeing who we are at our core, how do you come back and turn on the news without questioning what's everyone doing? Um, I've made jokes in my past episodes about having a few moments in my life where I just thought, what am I doing? What what is this? Like I'm looking at my body. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why did I eat this morning? Like, why did I like, and it makes you feel like you're going crazy. Like, what am I doing? And the funny thing is I haven't even had an NDE, but because I'm so spiritually connected to things as a musician, I've always gone in that direction, soulful music. I've always gone that place. That's my meditation. That's when I step into whatever realm is out there, even though it's just a taste. It makes me, I think it's made me aware of the ridiculousness of what we're doing at times. And you start to question, like, why? you know? But then at the same time, keeping it positive, we're here for a reason. We've decided to come here for a reason. And what if we're here to create amazing, soulful experiences for us, for each other, and to grow and to learn? What if that's part of this? So why not do that? Instead of being like, oh, what is the purpose of everything? This is pointless. So sometimes I'm like, no, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason why I'm here. There's got to be a reason why you're here. There's got to be a reason why everyone's here. And I look at life in a sense of now it's a point where I just want to um, make make a positive influence on other people, because I think that is what, if everyone was doing that, then I think we'd be living quite a life.
I agree with you 1000%, but don't think for 1 second that the powers that be, where you have positive, you have negative.
Mhm.
When you have negative, you have negative forces and low vibrations. And when you have that, you have influence. When you have influence, people are susceptible to thought, negativity, and things around you, the surroundings. And then when you talk about the news and things to that nature, what's going on, I mean, we all see what's going on in the world, and you have to sometimes tune out of it. You're a musician, which is great because you could put yourself into that other frequency, for example, that other guitar string where you're hitting that vibration where you feel, okay, I'm good now. Sometimes you have to tune out of what you're dealing with here, right? In the physical realm, because you don't have control of what you're experiencing in some of these items that there is no control. So the best control is, if you can't buy time, then make don't make your time be stolen by negative forces. Enjoy it to the pureness of you, and you will know what's right because you will feel it within. You know, um, use your heart, not your brain. The brain can deceive you in a lot of ways because it's a computer, it's a database, right? It's a circuit, like it takes and downloads the information.
Mhm.
But the heart is the empathic feeling of pureness. If it feels right in the heart and you're not fooling yourself, then it's the right thing, and that's what you do.
Right. So go from your heart, not your mind. Go from that's where your emotion is, your energy,
Yes.
everything comes from that place.
Yes.
Mind gets in the way. The brain, mind, whatever you want to call it, gets in the way. I agree with that. Um, so the last couple things here. One of the questions I ask people is, if you could look at it from what comes to you right away, right? Um, why are we here? It's as simple as that. Why are you here? What is its purpose? And I know that's a huge loaded question. It can be answered many different ways, but what comes to you right away?
Are you asking me the question?
Yeah. Why are we here? What is the purpose of our
Ask me the
existence?
question again a little louder.
Why are we here?
Are we? 40 minutes ago on the show, this is a vessel.
Hmm.
We're a form of collective consciousness.
Hmm.
Are we? There's a movie I recommend people watch. It's a great movie. It's a funny movie, but there's a lot of truth to the movie too. It's with Nicolas Cage. It's called The Family Man.
Hmm.
And if you haven't seen it, see it. It's about a guy who was wealthy, and all of a sudden he goes to sleep and he wakes up in another life. Watch the movie. And I'll leave it like that, but just watch it. And how I could describe it is like this: from my knowledge crossing over, draw a little circle on a page, then draw a circle outside that circle. And in fact, just keep drawing circles around the other circles and just keep going. We ourselves are cross-dimensional beings ourselves. And my belief is through my experience, through near death and the life that I live, that we are also interdimensional our own way, where we think, well, this is it. This is where no, we're multidimensional. It's just a fathom of what we perceive to be real. And if that's the truth, we don't exist the way we think we do. It's a mind blower and it is way out there. But when you really think about the sense of it, and you are the creator, you go through those different vibrational circles of life. Some call them reincarnations. Some call them time travelers, lost in time. But the soul wants to experience, before it goes back to the journey, which I call home, heaven, it wants to experience certain things. And when we ask the question, why do we experience certain things in the physical realm? My question to mankind is, are you? Or is it sort of like the movie The Matrix? When you look at it, are you experiencing or are you think you are experiencing? And it's a loaded question. It is way out there. But when you get into the real spiritualism, the chakras and everything else about us, you get that sense of, wait a second. It all falls into the category of now I get it. And that's my answer. But watch the movie. It's a family man because it's great and it explains a lot of a guy who had everything and then wakes up into a family and doesn't realize it, but then he starts to get it.
I
And he's
like
more
the
happier there.
I like the answer because it's not a straight answer. You have to contemplate what that means to each person listening, right? And I know what you mean by that. Um, I guess because I was gonna say, why are you here? Not why are we here, but why are you here? See, that could be a different question too, because if you're creating this, you're creating this right now yourself as well. See, this is where things can get really confusing for a lot of people. And my brain can start going in so many directions and I don't know how to hold it. It's the same thing when I talk to NDEers and I'll ask certain questions and they're trying to explain it. And sometimes I feel bad because you can tell they can't quite say, like, at times they'll say there's things that I learned over there that don't have language here. There's no way to express what it is I'm trying to say. And think, wow, that must be an experience. If you go somewhere, if you have an experience that you can't vocally express, that's something. And I'm sure you probably relate. I'm sure you had some of that, or you may still have it. I know you have different um, things that happen in your life. We didn't get into that. Maybe we can have you back sometime with spirit and things like that. But I'm sure there are things that when during your NDE that maybe you can't explain. Um, or have you been trying to all these years try, trying to explain it?
So the brain is a computer. The computer is the software, right?
Mm-hmm.
The database is right here for all of us. Take that out. What do you have? An empty shell? You're useless, right?
Right.
Okay. But around us, in each every one of us, is what? What some people could see is the aura, the reflection, the colors of us, what we are.
Mm-hmm.
That is the vibration of us. And then that's the only way you have to feel it. When I say think about being passionate through the heart, not through the mind, because the mind is sometimes like you're on a computer, it'll keep scrolling. It's not going to get it. Like when some people cross over, like myself, and you can't really get it out there because we're scrolling like a computer, but the vibration of the heart gets it and the aura gets it. And you can't put it into words because it's a short circuit.
Right, right,
So
right,
when it's a short circuit, you can't get it out there the way you want to. And that's what they're saying the end of years. And I say it too. Some things we just can't get out there because the mind ain't gonna let us out. It just doesn't get it. It
right.
don't get it. That's
So
correct.
it's almost like we need an upgrade. Like we have old software, and that software, it's like having an old computer that can't play the newest game, you know, if you look at it from a standpoint like that. We need an
True.
upgrade, right?
Yeah.
That does sound silly, but in a sense, that could be why people can't explain it, because the hardware isn't, it can't explain that other piece of who the software, you know, it just doesn't actually mesh together. So anyway, this has been a really great conversation. Where do people find you? Like, I didn't really ask you if you do any work with anyone, or you talk,
Yeah.
you did mention you
But I
speak.
want to say this. This I want to say, and this is important for me to say this. For the person that doubts whether heaven is real or another existence, I want you to think about this. A blind person can dream that was born blind, and a blind person can see in the dream. And then when they get out of the dream and they're up, they still cannot see. They could explain things the way we see them. We are unmeasurable human beings. So don't think for 1 second, that a dream is a dream and that the blind don't dream because they cannot see. You're in a shell, and we see that the eyes are the windows of the soul. Feel the pureness around you, never give up, and use that part in you, not the reflection around you, to make who you are the better person to move forward on this simple journey that we call time in the physical realm, and do the best you could do for mankind. For anyone, you could email me if you have any questions at psiracusa4 at yahoo.com. You can find me on Google. I'm also a radio host. I'm also an owner of Horsefly Chronicles World of Psychics. I'm the owner of the infamous Haunted Horsefly Chronicles home and paranormal teams around the globe. It is my duty and my journey to help mankind get through the mission of understanding spirituality and do the best for yourself and others along the way, because nothing is guaranteed.
Wow. I haven't had anyone explain it with the blind the way you just did it. I thought to myself, that is true. They can dream, but they don't see. So like that, my mind just went right to that right away, and I thought, how do they do that? There was I think it was, I don't know if her name was Pam Reynolds. She might have been the name. She was an NDEer, and there's a story on her. I don't know if it was her. It might have been someone else. I might be quoting the wrong name. But there's a woman who had she was blind, and she had to have a brain surgery, and they had to turn they had to put her temperature way down so they could take the brain out and work on it. I'm not sure science behind it, but they did this and they took out the brain, and she had a near death experience. And she came out and she's seen all these things. And again, she's blind her whole life, comes back to life, tells the doctors, specific areas of the hospital room where things were, everything. Um, and how did she do that? You know, it's just unbelievable. I mean, I know you know how she did that, but I'm speaking to the listeners if they're questioning these things, because you know, majority of people don't have the experience like you had, and it's fascinating. And I've loved hearing and you sharing your story. Um, but sometimes people, as a human being, we need some kind of proof or something that convinces us. It's just human nature, just who we are. So I encourage people to look up these stories if you're fascinated by them. There's ways that people have done things that you can't explain. And and I just appreciate your time tonight talking with me. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. It was really nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on. And one story you want to look up is Helen Keller. Um, Look it up and you do your own research.
Helen Keller.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. I usually just turn to the camera really quickly, say thanks for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. You guys are the reason I'm doing this, and continue to tune into new episodes of Soul Inspired. Thanks a lot to Philip for being here. This has been a completely different experience talking about different things. It's been awesome. And like I said, I know you have some stories of ghost encounters and things like that. So if my listeners are into that, I encourage you to go follow the things you do. You have a podcast, and I'm sure you talk on that a little bit about that.
Yes. And I'm also part of the ND book on Amazon. Death,
Right.
the final complication. There's me and 14 other people who've crossed over that put it into a book format of our stories and experiences of crossing, and it's available on Amazon. It's what we explain, what it's like to cross over the other side, what we've experienced, and it's a good read and an eye opener from different perspectives of different walks of life who've crossed over.
What was the name of that book again?
Death, the final complication.
Great. Perfect. I'm going to check that out. Thanks a lot for being on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So